I am Adam, Prince of Eternia and defender of the secrets of Castle Grayskull. This is Cringer, my fearless friend. Fabulous secret powers were revealed to me the day I held aloft my magic sword and said,
"The kids of the 80s were a special breed. All they needed to fight against international socialist communist world domination was breakfast cereal and a certain pairing of words, magic words if you will, which once said would unleash the powers of the universe to aid the cause of free market salvation." As little kids in the early 80s, half-formed and spiked by our parents' union-brokered cynicism, we used to parody that call to power, mocking the supposed strength such words endowed. We'd sing, "I have the power to pick up a flower, it takes me an hour or two." Sometimes the words would be weaponized in playground games of mass destruction. Naughty kids would twist a song to antagonize soap-disinclined weaklings. Or just for fun, really. "You have the power to pick up a flower, but not a shower, do you?" But the real story behind the words suggested they were merely come across accidentally, perhaps when Prince Adam of Eternia played make-believe himself and posed with a sword in front of a mirror.
"By the power of Grayskull!"
That power surged through the engines of the 1980s economy. Endless revs, out of control acceleration. The stunt drivers were the hedge funders, stock traders, risk-taking credit card maxers that skyrocketed earnings to the moon. Colloquially, these were called the Masters of the Universe, the movers and shakers who worshipped greed. These stars of the city and Wall Street, both British and American psychos who became ultra-rich, ultra-fast, were called Masters of the Universe. Eventually, though, the financial ley lines whipped out and snapped. This is the story of He-Man and the first Masters of the Universe, the idols of those boom times. One of the first results of a change in legislation which would allow toy manufacturers to effectively promote their action figure lines in half-hour-long cartoons. Effectively, half-hour-long adverts. This change in legislation would spur on the greatest explosion in children's imaginative worlds since the dawn of time. A gentleman called Roger Sweet, genius pioneering Daedalus of Toyland, padded a punier, slighter, older action figure with clay to create the bulky powerhouse prototype of a Master of the Universe action figure. Action figure, not doll. An action figure representing the power of toxic masculinity, perhaps. So much so, in fact, the figure's name was a double affirmation of manhood. He-Man could well have been Man-Man. Sweet is adamant that Vikings were the inspiration behind the original He-Man, yet others claimed the toy was intended to be Conan the Barbarian as represented in Arnold Schwarzenegger's films of the early 80s. Whatever the case, with lawsuits filed, any Conan deal failed to reach fruition. The Masters of the Universe toy range, though, would still centre around a warrior of unsurpassed strength, rather than grace, armed with massive broadsword in an exciting world of sorcery, of true good versus various shades of evil. He-Man's Clark Kent form is none other than Prince Adam, spoiled and lazy, noble of Eternia. His father, the perpetually disappointed King Randor and his mother Queen Melena, an earthling, Adam's laziness is of course a charade to throw others off the scent, off the secret that whenever Adam holds his sword aloft, an amazing transformation occurs. We find the remains of lost technology, advanced weapons, machines with lasers, even robots, much made by inventor, weapon master, and He-Man's closest companion, Man-at-Arms. The seemingly sci-fi, post-apocalyptic sword and sorcery world of Eternia was, therefore, differentiated from Conan. With the barbarian sharper adult tones blunted, the moral greyness turned into a mostly but not always stark black and white, Eternia became the perfectly crafted world for a million crazy stories of imagination to take place. Children were spoiled for choice, with an excess of heroic worlds to wander through in their mind's eye. Spoiled too were these children when scribbling down their Christmas lists, sending parents in frenzying rampages through all the toy stores, desperate that mass-produced, rapidly sold out, most wanted toy of the season would fall into their hands. Although this would not stop certain sadistic children pressing a rubber-faced He-Man action figure, not doll for crying out loud, against Skeletor's melter machine, disguised as a massive light bulb. Hideously disfiguring, said He-Man action figure, rubber face, a melted, stinking mess. Still, He-Man taught young boys to be strong and to be moral with that strength. Boys were set the example of being tough before adversity, to use adversity to increase your strength, just as Prince Adam would when he said the magic words. Indeed, "I have the power" was roared by many a prepubescent and adolescent during the 80s as a rallying cry against fatigue, low morale, or to boost courage. I remember the stair jumping game, when a group of us youngsters would climb a staircase and progressively jump off an ever higher stair. Stair number 6 terrified me. Even after 2 of my mates had leapt from that Everest height, I meekly trembled and refused. Just as my friends turned away in disgust, I uttered, "I have the power." And behold, I flew the distance and conquered the fear of step number 6. None of us even dared try the 7th step. The super imaginative kids brought up by 1980s TV were dulled by the creep of statist education and the increasing propaganda promoting divorce and denigrating family. Yet children of the 1980s could have been forged into the greatest generation. Their cartoons should have shaped their minds into outstanding, tough, moral ambassadors of humanity, because they all had the power